Hi guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. One of the big questions of this year's Rostermania is whether FormaL will actually make a return to competitive Call of Duty. He's hinted at the possibility, and over the last couple of days, Nadeshot said, hey, if you want to come to Thieves, you will have the keys. Hex though says, hey FormaL, you're an OpTic player, you're presumably an OpTic content creator if you wish to be after retiring from Halo if that's his plan. Why are you talking to Nadeshot about potentially leaving the organisation? FormaL doesn't explicitly deny the possibility, but very much interested your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. First of all, a couple of other things to go through here. Los Angeles Guerrillas are not going to be re-signing Flames, it seems. It's going to be a UFA for Black Ops 6. Now, it's interesting what Guerrillas are up to right now because nobody really knows whether they're even going to be around anymore next season. They were the only organisation to say no to the World Cup. They're not even going to be going, so unfortunately for them, well, they're not going to be there. SGL, though, is going to be on Rocker. Of course, DiamondCon is going to be on Rocker, and Fame is going to be on Vegas. So most of their team is gone already and is on other teams for the World Cup. Unfortunately, Flames didn't get picked up, so he's going to be a UFA for Black Ops 6, but it is likely that those guys that have been either loaned out or whatever it is to Rocker or to Vegas, it's also over for them as well, because I don't know if Guerrillas are still going to be around. We know that Subliners have been bought out or acquired in some ways by Cloud9. There's a partnership going on there. It's going to be Cloud9, we think, to some extent next season. Surely there's interest in this Guerrilla spot. I will say, interestingly enough, the team that replaced Guerrillas at the World Cup is Team Falcons, right? The Saudi team. And there's rumours, of course, that there's been interest from Falcons in getting into the league. So, I don't know if there's anything in that. But I'm not sure Guerrillas will still be around as an organisation next year. They wanted to be gone last year, but I think they couldn't find a buyer and they were told, well, the contract says if you can't sell the team and we don't agree to whoever's going to buy it, then unlucky, you've got to field a roster. Maybe that's going to be a different story this year. I don't really know. Thieves will, of course, still be around, maybe with FormaL on the team, but, you know, who knows? We'll discuss that in the coming minutes. They let go officially, though, of Afro yesterday. So Afro was on the team at the start of the season. He was good at search, not so consistent at the respawns. There was lots to talk about his damage, you know, how actually effective he was on the map, and not especially effective really was the answer to that on most occasions. They brought out JoeDeceives, and they brought JoeDeceives back in. Afro was gone, and it's unfortunate, I think, in a way, because Afro is no doubt an incredibly talented player, and it just feels like another European player that may be on the verge of wasting potential in some way. Obviously, nobody really knows what happened to Dylan Cod, but I don't want to see Afro in a position with, you know, another very talented European player that's come up and really made a mark on the scene back in, especially the end of Cold War was unbelievable. Start of Vanguard was incredibly good. And then since then, I know there's been discussion as to why Afro wasn't quite the player that he was recently as he was back then, but the potential's still there. So he needs a good year this year, and I don't think he's necessarily going to get onto a CDL team again, but I'm hoping that we get to see glimpses of the Afro that we have seen before. So yeah, as Afro says, obviously not our one of the year to go. Thanks to 100T, they were nothing but brilliant, basically, and UFA, nothing but caught on my mind. So maybe an interesting comment there as to whether there was other stuff going on for Afro behind the scenes, but yeah, wishing the best for him. He's probably going to have to grind through challenges or something, but if he really nails it, then the possibilities there, of course, to get back into the league. But just difficult being from Europe in general. There was talk about Bants, there was talk about others getting into the league this year. Never happened due to, you know, various stuff. And as Ghosty says, such a nice young lad. Thank you, FaZe Ghosty. So, yeah, it comes by title again for the video. But, yeah, FaZe Ghosty, I don't know if that's going to be true. We're going to talk about it later on today, what Ghosty was up to as well last night. Before we get to the FormaL stuff, how about the return of Uplink? Because there are rumours that it is going to be in the game for Black Ops 6. Just quickly to mention, Uplink was spotted last year in the game files, actually for Modern Warfare 2, right, like the year before, was spotted in the game files back in 2022 as Uplink was going to be there, but it actually never arrived. So just because it's like coded into the game with some of the words doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be back. Although this was interesting to see that apparently in the game files, these following quotes are there. Upload the satellite before the time expires. Satellite, which of course is what it was called, the ball, right, back in the day. Sudden death, the next upload wins. And, you know, upload the satellite to set the time to beat. Would they put these things in the game if the game mode wasn't going to be in the game? Probably not, let's be real. So it looks like Uplink might be coming back. And that's pretty exciting. Uplink, one of the best game modes ever in Call of Duty. If you guys have never seen it played, you know, just go back and watch OpTic versus Rise Nation, Breach Uplink during Black Ops 3. Envy versus E United, World Championship in Infinite Warfare is another good option. Even back in Advanced Warfare when TJ hit that last minute throw. What a game, what a time. But at the same time, it was a jetpack title, and all three of those games that it was played in. And there was always been questions, how would it even work on Boots on the Ground? They tried it when we went back to Boots on the Ground in World War II. They called it Gridiron, and it was just a little portal on the floor that you could either run through or throw it in. But it just wasn't quite the same, and the pros voted for Capture the Flag over Gridiron. So Boots on the Ground uplink was always a question how you'd make it work, because you do want to kind of have the portal in the sky that you can jump into for 2 points and throw it in for 1 point. You also want to allow the option for an interception to be a thing. So what do? Do you put like a trampoline by the portal, or do you have like a zero gravity area that kind of like surrounds the portal? I don't really know. Or you have it hovering just enough off the ground so that you have to like jump and then it will go in. But and also without jetpacks, you maybe don't have quite the same options for like a one-shot throw, because with jetpacks and wall running, you'd have these, you know, very creative basically ones that you'd throw to try and get a 1 point shot from downtown. It's not really possible Boots on the Ground, right? So I don't know if, even if Uplink does come back, it's ever going to be quite what it was. But I'm pretty excited about the possibility, because if you had to ask the community to vote on what the third game mode is going to be, I would say that the winner would probably be Uplink, really, if the community voted. I don't know what the pros would say. Capture the Flag is always a question, but I think most of the time it's pretty boring. Control, I think people are kind of fed up of Control right now, to be honest. The other thing, I guess, to say on Control is the fact that Treyarch Control does tend to be better. Like, they came up with the game mode back in Black Ops 4, and it was great. 5v5 with specialists. It wasn't quite as great in Black Ops Cold War 4v4, but it was still probably the best that it's been. So, it might be alright, Control, if we play it, and the league fundamentally may decide. But a lot of the players are looking forward to potentially Uplink coming back into action. And I'm definitely not going to say no if Uplink is around to at least giving it a try to see if it's going to work here in Black Ops 6. Back in Black Ops 3, because, I can't help myself, obviously, there actually used to be 4 game modes back then. They used to play Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, Uplink, Capture the Flag, Search and Destroy. That was the series of 5. And then next year they changed it to just have the 1/3 game mode, which I think is probably better, to be honest. But there has been talk, well, what if Uplink plays really well? What if Control plays really well? Do we need 2 hardpoints? Could we go back to a world where it is, something like basically Hardpoint, Search, Control, Uplink, Search? I don't know. I think we're probably getting ahead of ourselves, because these modern titles, there's no guarantee that the maps are going to be any good, let alone having 4 potentially viable game modes. But let's talk about this FormaL stuff, because obviously this game, it looks pretty polished right now. We've seen lots of leaks over the last few days, and some pretty promising stuff at that. FormaL has his concerns about Black Ops 6, wondering about the aim assist, wondering about some other things, and I'm not sure that FormaL really wants to come back anyway. But if he was committed to doing so, he would be in the conversation to actually make a return. He's currently playing for OpTic Halo, and the issue is for FormaL on some level is that if he's going to make this decision to return, he's got to make it quite quickly, right? Because yes, he plays the Halo World Championship in October, but if you're Thieves, are you going to wait until like late October to form your roster because FormaL wants to wait to make a decision? No, you're not, are you? You're going to sign the best roster you can, and then FormaL will probably be on the outside of things. So if FormaL wants to come back, he's got to make this decision in the next couple of weeks, pretty much after the World Cup, because as soon as the World Cup ends on the 18th of August, that's when you're going to see teams blowing it up, and that's where you're going to see Thieves, whatever they decide to do for next year, that's when they're going to start those conversations. So, I think FormaL needs to make the decision as to whether he's committed to the new COD again before it's even come out, and before the Halo World Championship and the Halo season even ends that he's currently competing in. So that seems like a bit of a tall order for me to for FormaL to actually make that decision, especially when he hasn't even played the game, right? And I mean, the beta comes out the end of this month. Maybe at that point he'll make his call. I don't know, or maybe he's not going to do it in the first place. But anyway, FormaL and Nadeshot are back and forth the other day. Nadeshot literally said to FormaL, hey, I'm being dead serious right here. If you want to come and play for Thieves and, have the keys, you're welcome to do so. And FormaL said, okay, yeah, maybe I'll consider it if I get to make the decisions I want to make. And he's like, well, okay, yeah, maybe I'll keep Ghosty, maybe I'll do something else. So this was happening during the OpTic Valorant console tourney they did the other day, and Hex comes up to FormaL. I thought it was great as well to see Hex, like, the vlogs are back again. He got to 1 million subs, I think, during Champs, right? Because the OpTic Watch Party helped helped him out and everything. It was really cool to see that, and you know, really happy for Hex because he's been working hard for the 1 million subs for years, and he did finally get there a couple of weeks ago.
FormaL, if you wanted to play for LA Thieves, I would make it happen immediately.
Really?
Immediately, bro. You step right back into Call of Duty. Nobody tells me at LA Thieves, yeah, it's locked. It's when you just say the word.
All right.
Dead ass.
I like all of that. I gotta like rework your roster a little bit though.
You could have the fucking keys of the kingdom, brother.
Okay, there we go. That's all I need to hear.
But I do think that my boys kind of turned up this year, so I gotta put in a good word for them. I know that this thing.
I think Doshi's good.
You're just the man that I was looking for.
What?
And I'm gonna say it in front of your teammate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why are you talking with Nate Shot like you about to?
He was flirting with me, bro.
Why are you flirting with?
He was flirting with me. I was entertaining it.
Yeah. Like, how do you think it made me feel? I got jealous.
You probably did. Maybe I did that. Maybe that was the reason I did it.
But what do we think about FormaL's reaction here, right? Because it's not like he comes out and says, "Oh, like, there was nothing in that. Like, you know, I'm not going to cheat on you," type thing. But he says, "Look, he was flirting with me, and I flirted back a little bit." Because it's true. FormaL did come back to nature and say, "Okay, that's an interesting proposition. How about this? How about that?" And look, I think at the end of the day, if FormaL really wants to do it, I don't really see Hex and OpTic necessarily standing in his way too much if that's really what FormaL wants to do, because there's not going to be an option to go to the OpTic COD team, at least for now. But, you know, it's interesting with FormaL, like, you've always got to wonder how much he's scheming, how much he's plotting, because, you know, he's done it in COD back in the day to first get into the league. He did it in Halo when he made the move over there. I wonder what he's thinking about a potential return. And if there was one organization that it might make sense for like a loan arrangement or whatever, Thieves might be the org, just because at least in that situation it's kind of Nadeshot, who's the old OpTic guys, kind of their boys. It's not like you're sending FormaL to you know, another team where there isn't that kind of connection. I don't know, but Thieves are still trying to be a competitive team, and it's also not like you're sending FormaL to, you know, Vegas Legion, where they're not going to be competitive and therefore they're not going to be challenging OpTic. Like, Thieves are trying to become championship winners again. Certainly that would be their plan if they signed FormaL. So I don't know what the future holds on this one, but intrigued to your thoughts as always in the comment section below. Just one final thing here. These are the numbers according to Visit Allen, Texas, who actually obviously held the event basically, talking about the number of fans that actually attended the event, hosting 16,000 attendees over 4 days. So I think that will include, like, you know, people came back on Saturday and Sunday. They get counted twice. I think that's how it works. You basically just add up the attendance for the 4 days, whether they're the same people or not. I think that's the plan, because the venue didn't hold 16,000. But I'm pretty sure that Saturday and Sunday, there were near on like 6,000 people in there. Like, I think Sunday especially was absolutely packed out. I think there's probably like 6K, and the first day or so there's probably 2-3K each, which probably does add up to roughly this type of number. So it's pretty impressive stuff. And actually Ben talked about this a bit and said, hey, tickets got sold out on the weekends, so you've got to think that OpTic got close or did make money off this event. And I think this is an interesting question, right? I'm hoping that OpTic made money off this event to some degree. I mean, it's not cheap. This is the key point, really. It ain't cheap to host these events, mainly because you've got to hire the venue on a short-term basis. And this is why in-person sports events make a load of money in general. But the problem is that most teams host their own, they have their own stadium, right? Whereas in Call of Duty for esports, you've got to hire it out, which ain't cheap. But the tickets also weren't, you know, particularly cheap for the event either. And, you know, the feeling is, with the amount of, you know, food and beverage sales and everything they had as well, that Toronto, that OpTic, possibly Boston, are in a position to actually either, you know, at the very least break even, or potentially even make money from these events. And, you know, hopefully that's true, because it should hopefully encourage other teams to try and replicate a similar thing. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.